I'm done. Put it in the bag. Put it in the bag. 251.6, my longest drive ever. Today, Wilson Golf have just announced their brand new drivers for 2025 with the release of the Wilson DYNAPWR Max, DYNAPWR Carbon and DYNAPWR LS. And I'm incredibly fortunate I've got all three models in my hands today. I'm going to put them through their paces on TrackMan to see how they perform in my hands as an average golfer, just like the millions of you watching down the lens, to see which one of these models might be the right model for you and for me, how they differentiate themselves and how they've improved from last year. Now, last year's Carbon driver was without doubt the longest driver I tested on my channel, and it came in at a fantastic price point. Now, Wilson have already dialed up the aesthetics this year with some absolutely stunning looks, which we'll talk about in a second. And if they can deliver performance that's also improved on last year, they have got a seriously good package of drivers here. So let's find out how good they really are. Right, so let's start off with the Wilson DYNAPWR Max. This is the more forgiving head in the three heads this year, and probably the one that I'd be more inclined to game because I just want to maximize that forgiveness with the driver. In terms of looks and in terms of shapes, it'd be really interesting to see if you agree with me here, but it reminds me quite a lot of the Titleist drivers that we've seen over the last couple of years, and I think we could argue that they are some of the best looking drivers available on the market. So if it's similar to that in design, I think it'll appeal to so many people in terms of shelf appeal and also when you've got the club down at address. On the sole of the golf club, we get that Wilson logos, the DYNAPWR reference, the reference to the Max. We've got that adjustable hosel, which is definitely one of the sleekest, smallest hosel designs that I've seen on a driver over the last few years. And in terms of that face, this is another thing that's very similar to Titleist. We do get those kind of marks on the face, on the heel and the toe side that just sort of frame the sweet spot really nicely for you. We get a little D DYNAPWR logo on the top to help us with lining up, and we do get that high gloss crown with a little bit of a flash of red on the heel side in terms of colorway too, which is just a nice little touch when you've got the ball down at address. Now it's time to hit some shots. So first one out of the gate, my club head speed with it is up versus my ping. My ball speed with it is also up versus my ping. And what we've seen there is we've got 210 of carry and 225 of distance. The only reason for that is I've just spun it up a little bit there, which is probably just due to my strike. And that is already going to be testament to how forgiving this golf club is, because it's gone almost dead straight and we've seen some good distance out of it, despite the fact it wasn't a great strike. Based on my delivery and based on the numbers that I'm seeing, they're very good. 213 of carry, 236 of total. 132 of ball speed on a slight mishit. They're good. It's very forgiving. First impressions in terms of feels really nice off of the face. In terms of sounds, hopefully the camera's picking that up. There's nothing that's going to put anybody off in the acoustics here. You know, as an example, I've got a ping driver. Historically, there's been some complaints about the sounds of them, although I think they're much improved over the last couple of years. But with this one here, I think people are going to really enjoy the sounds of it, the looks of it, and just based on first few shots, the performance of it as well. That's fast. If it's good delivery, wow. 137 of ball speed, 2.7 of spin. I've carried it 224 and totaled it at 245. Now, if you've watched my video recently where I tried to hit my longest drive ever on this TrackMan, I got to like 247. That's going to be the second or third longest drive I've ever hit on this thing, and it was a little baby cut. I'm a little bit shocked by that because I wasn't expecting to see a number on any of my drives like that today from the forgiving head. Another nice one. What I'm seeing here then is with this head, when my delivery conditions are good, we get unbelievable speeds, unbelievable distances out of it, which is, you know, normally something you give up with a forgiving head. What I'm seeing once I mishit it slightly and don't maybe deliver the best numbers out of it, what actually happens is the spin seems to creep up, which is probably more to do with my delivery as much as anything. 210 of carry, 228, like that's what's happening on it. That's that kind of forgiveness on those off-center hits, high on the face, toe, heel side. You're getting that sort of carry number that says to you, yeah, you're extra club into the green, but you're still on the fairway and you're still in good shape and you've not hit it that great. Oh my God, that's the longest drive I think I've ever hit. 248.4. That is unreal. Absolutely buttoned. Wow, that felt good. I think that's better. Oh my God. Put it in the bag. I'm done. Put it in the bag. Put it in the bag. 251.6, my longest drive ever on this thing. It's with the Wilson DYNAPWR Max. I'm done. Let's move up to the next head. I'm done. So moving up to the carbon head, in terms of looks, we get a lot of the same similarities of what we just spoke through on that titanium head, but we do get more of a carbon pattern to match that carbon name. So you can see that kind of carbon patterning and texture onto the sole of the club, and you can also see it on the crown of the club when we turn it over as well. And it does, I must admit, reflect really nicely in this light that we're in today. The other main difference in terms of looking at this driver head, you do get 2 weights with the carbon model. At the moment, we've got a 5 gram in the rear of the head and we've got a 3 gram at the front, but they are interchangeable, so we could swap them around if we needed to dial that in with a custom fitter. But otherwise, very, very similar. It's just another stunning looking profile of head. Now, what I would say about the carbon model is the version that Wilson have sent me is a 9-degree head. So that is quite low for me and what I would be used to playing out on the golf course. So my expectation here is we're not going to see carry numbers as good as we saw out of that titanium, because I just need a little bit more loft at my swing speeds to keep it in the air. But I'm expecting to see some good spin rates and some good total distances, exactly like I saw out of last year's model as well. Massive pull out of the gate, which is why ball speeds are high. And it's done everything I would expect it to do straight out of the gate. It's carried a couple of yards shorter, it's rolled out a little bit more in my hands. Spin rate at 2.5 is just that fraction lower. That's a much better strike. Just moved it up the face that time. Got to a 216 carry, which wasn't probably expecting to see numbers that high out of this loft in my hands. Naturally, obviously a little bit lower launching, more flatter trajectory for me with this option because of that loft that we've got. Look at that, 91 mile an hour club head speed, 135 of ball. Smash factor at 1.49 is like as efficient as it gets. 216 of carry, 242 of total. They're numbers that I will take any day of the week with the driver. Just a tiny little bit cutty. 135 of ball. It's a fast driver, just based on some of the smash factors that I'm seeing out of it. It's a very fast driver. An okay one to finish on. I think what we can say with this carbon model, definitely has that still good level of forgiveness, feels great off of the face, sounds absolutely great, definitely delivers a slightly lower ball flight in that lower loft. Definitely feels like it's going to roll out a little bit more for me, knock a little bit of spin off, and it's going to be a great option for players that are maybe my handicap and a little bit better. Right, finally to finish up with the LS head, expectations is obviously this is going to be a low spin model. In terms of looks very, very similar to that carbon that I've just shown you. Got all of the carbon detailing on it, on the sole and on the crown. We've also got that little bit of red colorway again, like we spoke about. Main difference that on the outside of this head is the weightings are a little bit different here. We've got a 12 gram rear head and a 6 gram forward facing head. Again, interchangeable, so you can dial that in with a custom fitter, but otherwise that's the main obvious change when you've got it down at address. I did hit a couple of shots with this one to warm up because I was not sure what I was going to expect out of it. So you haven't captured my first ones on camera, but the one I just hit before I started rolling the camera, that's unbelievable. 93 mile an hour of club head speed, 137 of ball speed, 2000 of spin, so it's only carried 210, but it's rolled out to 244.5 and delivered what I think is quite a good height for me with a low spin 9-degree head. Feel on all three heads is exactly the same. Like I can't notice any difference here today hitting all three of them. They feel great, they feel nice and solid off of the face, but with a really nice feel to them. Little bit of a cutty one, which is why we've lost a couple of mile an hour of ball speed. We've gained a little bit of height with it to 50 feet. 201 total, carry, 231 total. Like I say, this is going to be, you know, if you're carrying your driver 250, 260, your club head speeds at 110, that's probably going to be where you're going to be looking at this model, or if you're one of their tour players. Another one that's pretty damn good, that spin rate's done exactly what you'd want it to do again, stayed closer to the 2000s at 2200. Ball speeds with all three drivers are incredibly good. Actually that's the highest spinning one we've got so far, and probably is a sign of the maximum spin I would get out of it, which ironically is probably closer to optimal for me at that sort of 2.6 sort of category. 134 of ball speed, strike was good, carrying at 205, totaling at 233. That's huge. That's An absolute testament to what this driver is capable of. 137 of ball speed, carrying 213, totaling 244 off of a 58 feet ball flight. That's it, that's the numbers. Like, I'm going to show you a data set, but that is everything that this driver should do in my hands, and it's done it. So you've seen me hit the shots, now it's time to dive into all the data from all three of those drivers to see how they really performed. Now starting on the left hand side, you'll see that all three Wilson drivers delivered on average about 1 mile an hour of additional ball speed versus my own Ping G430 Max. However, it was the Wilson DYNAPWR Carbon that marginally came out a little bit faster, and that backs up exactly what I was feeling while I was in the bay. It really did feel like a fast driver. As expected, those spin rates reduce as we move our way through the models, with the DYNAPWR Max delivering the most spin at 2476 RPM, and that is a very optimal spin rate for me, and that's probably why we got some good distances, as we'll see in a second. The DYNAPWR Carbon then dropped about 150 RPM, and then you dropped a further 100 RPM with that DYNAPWR LS. All three models were lower spinning than my Ping by at least 350 RPM. Now with that DYNAPWR Max tested at a 10.5 degree head, just like in my Ping, versus the DYNAPWR Carbon and LS that we tested at 9 degrees, it's no surprise to see that the Max delivered very similar numbers to my Ping, just marginally flatter, whilst the Carbon and LS were both near identical in terms of their ball flight, with that LS offering the slightly lower flight, just as you would expect. Now the Wilson DYNAPWR Max was the longest driver throughout the test in terms of both carry and total distance, with its more optimal flight, spin and ball flight at my swing speeds, delivering a staggering 215.2 yards of average carry distance and a mind-blowing 241.4 yards of average total distance. If I hit one or two drives over 240 yards on TrackMan, I'm super impressed. To be averaging over 240 yards total from a batch of shots with a driver, it just is seriously long in my hands. However, don't be put off by the Carbon and the LS, because naturally they do carry a little bit shorter in my hands at my swing speeds and in those 9 degree heads, but they did roll out substantially more, and as a result they did keep up in terms of total distance with my own Ping driver. Just to show you my shot dispersion patterns, you can see from that LS model just how incredibly tight it was left to right and front to back, and it was probably the tightest overall dispersion pattern. You can see that with the Max there is also those couple of longer hits just out to the right hand side as well. If we just change it over to show you the total distance dispersion, you can see they all bunch up a lot closer together, and that is some really nice dispersion patterns in my hands as a mid-handicap golfer. The final thing I wanted to show you is those shot trajectories side on view. You can see as we move up through the heads that we get a slightly more higher ball flight, starting with the low spin model right at the bottom with that more penetrating low ball flight. We add a little bit of extra height and launch as we move up to that Carbon. We then get up to that more optimal flight for me with the Max as we add that in as well. And then finally, just for some perspective, you can see my higher launching Ping G430 Max delivering the highest ball flights of all. Overall, some outstanding numbers from all three of these drivers, delivering exactly what I expected them to do on the day. So you're probably not surprised to hear that I've absolutely fell in love with the Wilson DYNAPWR driver range for 2025. When you pick up a driver and hit your longest drives ever on TrackMan, including smashing through the 250 yard barrier for the very first time, it's going to be very difficult not to fall in love with that golf club. Add in the fact that all three of these drivers deliver some absolutely stunning looks, that real good shelf appeal and bag appeal, and some fantastic sounds to go with that performance, and Wilson have delivered a package here of drivers that I think are really going to have a big impact on the market in 2025. The other reason for that is I'm confident, although I don't have exact pricing at the time of filming this video, that they will deliver them at 10 to 20% cheaper than all of the big brands they're competing against, and I therefore think you have to put these on your test list, because you could get a bargain of a driver that performs absolutely incredibly and has that bag appeal and save yourself a few pounds in the process. I think we've also been able to prove with this video that all three heads do exactly what we'd expect them to do. If you're an elite amateur or a tour player with a lot more swing speed than me, you are going to favour that LS head that delivers all the characteristics you need out of your driver. Equally, for golfers of my handicap or higher, that Max head does really give us that forgiveness that we need and help me to deliver some really good distance at the same time. Equally, we then have that Carbon head that sits smack bang in the middle for the golfer that wants to balance workability and forgiveness, and as we saw, it was incredibly quick too. All that's left for me to say is if you've got some value out of this video and you'd like to return the favour, it's as simple as hitting that thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know that golfers just like you may also be interested in watching this video. Equally, if you've not yet followed me before, hi, I'm Luke, the Weekend Tour Pro. There's a button on screen right now. You can subscribe to the channel and you'll get notified of all my videos as they land on YouTube every single week. Equally, if this is your first time landing on my channel and you think you might want to watch more of my content, there's two video options popping up on screen for you right now, and if you press the button on your screen, you'll be taken to them right away. All that's left for me to say is, come on, smash through the 250 yard barrier. Can't believe it. Have a great day. Goodbye.